Hi everyone. Thanks for joining me to listen and find out a little bit more about Feng Shui in your bedroom. My name is Narelle McDonald and I'm a Feng Shui consultant and a building biologist. Now, I've had a fascination with Feng Shui for over 15 years now and started studying in this field in 2009. And it still never ceases to amaze me the stories that homes tell you via their individual charts and how these mirror the client's experiences in their own homes. Often clients will instigate a consult when they're about to make changes or they feel something is missing or just something's not quite right and they can't put their finger on it. I think we probably all had that experience of walking into a home that's beautiful and really nothing looks out of place or nothing looks wrong, but for whatever reason, it just doesn't feel right. Just as we've all had that experience of walking into a place where people naturally gravitate to, and it feels really good, and the energy feels contained, and we all intuitively can pick that up ourselves. So really, the aim of this webinar, or the purpose of this webinar, is just to give you a little bit of an overview as to how Feng Shui may help you in your bedroom with furniture placement and colour. For me, when I'm working with my clients, I really want to give as much information as I can so I can leave them feeling empowered, and they can put the knowledge that I've given them into action. And ideally, I'm really wanting to bring a little bit of awareness to choices about what people can make for themselves and in their homes. So I ask people to start challenging some of the assumptions that they may have around things and products and things like that. So when I do a Feng Shui consult, it's Feng Shui, but there's also building biology, so I don't take that hat off either. So I suppose let's get started. So what is Feng Shui? And I had this happen to me just the other day, Feng Shui, as some like to call it. Often people sort of say to me, oh, that's Feng Shui, that's where you can't have your back door and your front door aligned, or they often know about what we refer to as the coffin position, where you've got your feet facing out of the door in a bedroom, or the classic one that you've got to get your toilet seat down. And definitely some of these things can be true, such as in the case of a long, straight, narrow hallway where the back and front door is aligned, what happens is the chi moves really quickly, and it doesn't get contained in the home, so they can feel sometimes a little bit void. So yes, in that sort of scenario, this is definitely not ideal. But I just want to explain a little bit about Feng Shui to you guys today, because I think that's really important. And literally translated, it means wind and water. So it's actually an ancient Chinese art, and it's existed for thousands of years. And what it does is it uses the laws of nature to restore balance, and therefore harmonizing the environment to improve one's quality of life. And the beauty of Feng Shui is that it acknowledges that everything in the universe, living and non-living, is qi moving at different vibrational frequencies. So everything's interrelated, everything's interconnected. And I love that about this. So it was developed, ancient Feng Shui actually developed after many, many years and careful observation of nature. So when they looked at a site, they considered that the building has to be placed and designed in harmony with all the surrounding elements of the environment and the landscape. And then by doing that, this site could then harness the vital life force energy that was required. This was actually considered really sacred, and it was kept only for royalty in China for many years. And a lot's been done to actually keep this art a secret. So it's really, it's much more common nowadays, but it wasn't that common. It's really only emerged over the last few decades. So I'm just going to touch a little bit about the different styles of Feng Shui, because that's important, because it's relevant to what we're discussing today. So there's various schools of thought, and what we're going to look at today is form school, which looks at the land and the surrounds and the roads and the colours and the shapes and the materials and how we bring that into place in the environment. So it's what we can see. So if we think of form school as what we can see, then there's compass school, and that's a particular branch of Feng Shui, and that focuses on the influence of the direction on the building, and it's divided into 8 sectors relating to the 8 directions of a compass. But it doesn't actually take into account time, so what we refer to as the birth of the home. But we'll look at something like, okay, in the west sector, that relates to children and can be around plans and dreams. That relates to the metal element, etc., the youngest daughter. And then you always have organs and body parts and colours, etc., associated with that. In my consults, what I look at is flying star feng shui. And this is really the most comprehensive and complex form of feng shui, because what it does is it takes into account the unseen energies as well as the seen energies, because it looks at the individual distribution of energy within each home. So each home is very unique. And I think why I love this so much is because it's based on numerology, the language of the universe, and it takes into account, as I said, both time and space, and it acknowledges that everything is energy and nothing ever stays the same. So things change, and so each building is unique. And what we're looking to do is enhance prosperity and harmonise or sedate more difficult or challenging influences. And we do all of this through balancing the 5 elements within the home. And when I talk about the age of a home, at the moment when we look at from a feng shui perspective, we're in age 8, and that runs from 2004 to 2024. So any home that is built between 2004 and 2024 is an age 8 home, whereas after 2024, that becomes an age 9 home for the next 20 years. So the homes that were built in age 8 actually will have a shift as far as how that home is actually working for the individuals, because the energy's actually changed. So as I mentioned, this webinar is really going to focus on form school and what we see, not the unseen, because each of you will have a different chart for your buildings, and obviously the scope of this webinar, we're not able to cover that. And something just before we go on is that our buildings are an external reflection of our internal world, and that's the way I've been taught, and from my experience, that's definitely what I see. And I think that's an important thing to know, that your homes don't give you bad luck or anything like that. You're attracted to that home for a particular reason due to the phase of life that you're in at that particular time. And so it's an external reflection of what's happening internally for you and where you're sitting at the moment. In Feng Shui, we refer to, there's 3 laks. There's the heaven lak. So that's basically like the blueprint which you arrived with. Looks at your potential based on your DNA, your previous karma, astrology, that sort of thing that's happening at the time of your birth. And it accounts for about 30% of the way your life is. Then we look at man luck. So this includes your community, your family, friends, social influences, your good deeds, how kind and charitable you are, and your drive to improve yourself. So your virtue and your focus. This is really important, and it's a big subject these days, is your focus determines your reality. I think, I say, I do. So you create often what you think. And then we look at earth work, and this is where the feng shui comes into it. And this includes the country you were born into and the state of the world at your time of birth. And it includes all the environmental elements that affect your everyday world, like climatic influences, landforms, your physical environment, and the feng shui of your home and work. And so this is really an interaction of all 3. Why are our bedrooms so important? Why do we focus so much on our bedrooms? And we do this both in building biology and feng shui. They're extremely important rooms. Now, I love this quote: "The best bridge between despair and hope is a good night's sleep." And I couldn't sum it up better myself. We spend 22 years of our life sleeping. If you don't get a good night's sleep, everything else can start to fall apart. So if you don't produce the melatonin you need, which is our anti-cancer hormone, this can have a really profound effect on your overall immune system. So my advice to clients is to often start in the bedroom. Let's create a really safe sleeping sanctuary. So in Feng Shui, our bedrooms provide a foundation to our health. And it's important because most of our cell regeneration takes place during the night. So this is really critical for health and vitality. And we all know when we've got young children, in those first couple of years, how sleep deprived we actually are. So our aim is to create a safe sleeping space that nurtures us and that represents us on a deep level. And it's a place where we can go to heal and rest and regenerate overnight. So it's a really, really important space. So some furniture placement, alignment, proportion, they all play a part in Feng Shui. And it's really interesting to see how you can create balance through this. If you look at an open plan area, it can be designated and made into smaller spaces where the chi can gather. And you can do that just using objects and furniture and rugs and plants. And with my consults, I don't like to see homes full of Feng Shui remedies and looking a little bit weird. It's not aligned with the clients and how they actually live their lives or anything like that. So we use remedies and cures and things like that in a way that's subtle, so that you don't walk in and think, oh God, that's a Feng Shui remedy, but you do want them to be noticed at the same time. So let's look at a little bit about bed placement and some basic principles around this. And I want you to bear in mind that our bedroom, when we talk about it from a Feng Shui perspective, we want it to be our mountain. We want it to support and protect us while we sleep, when we're more vulnerable. And according to Feng Shui principles, the bedroom is the temple of the body and the soul. So backing for a bed so we feel supported and secure is very important. If you can see who's entering your space, it gives you command of the area. If you're sitting diagonally in opposite to the door, this is called the Emperor's position, because it's the first to receive the life force energy that enters the room. So you would have heard mirrors are talked about a lot in Feng Shui actually, and mirrors can contribute to a disturbed night's sleep. And it's said that because our spirits travel at night, if when leaving or entering the body, it sees itself, it becomes disorientated, and that's when you might wake with a jolt. So mirrors are also very yang in nature. So we don't want to disturb the mountain energy, which is more yin. So that's why being more yang in nature, we definitely want to minimize that. And then paying attention to what's reflected in any mirror and what energy it's drawing in is really important. You definitely don't want your mirror to reflect anything that's not sightly, that's maybe a bit harsh, a bit pointy, a bit jagged, that sort of thing. For me, mirror placement should be done really mindfully and carefully. I've just moved and I'm waiting on getting a floor plan for this house, and I haven't. I've got a beautiful big mirror that I used to have placed in my other home, and I haven't put it up here yet because at this stage I don't know what I'm dealing with. So I'm not going to put it up until I actually do know what I'm dealing with, because it's a really big mirror and it will really amplify and affect the space. So I'm just going to wait and see until I know exactly what the chart is telling me. And when I'm talking about that, I'm talking about the unseen energies. Beams above the bed, especially one that passes over the bed itself, particularly if it's between you and your husband. It can create what they refer to as sort of a pressure, and it's referred to as a pushing sha in Feng Shui. So the lower the ceiling, the actual stronger this effect can be. So sometimes you can paint beams in so they're not so noticeable, so they become kind of more one with the ceiling. Other times you may be able to put a false ceiling up there, depending upon the height of the ceiling. You can use such things as flutes, etc., but you'd probably be looking for other scenarios first before doing that. Avoid placing the bed under a window. That's really... if you can, that's really important, because what happens during the night is energy comes in through the window and it can affect the body, and it affects the life force energy. It gets disturbed and it can have an impact on the crown chakra, and we refer to it as the reverse coffin position. And if we think about nighttime and the moon and the cool yin energy that the moon has, can also affect the liver, which of course is about our emotions, moods, agitation, anger, that sort of thing. So avoiding sleeping with your bed across from the door and in line with a window. So what this can do, this is what we refer to as a coffin position. And the reason it's referred to as that is dead bodies used to be removed that way with their souls pointing out. And then again, it's about disturbing the energy because it's pulling at you, so it's not restful. So sorry, this is not the coffin position. I've skipped a step. So what I'm talking about is if you have your bed between a door and a window, and then it pulls the life force of the energy across the bed. And it's a bit like sleeping in a path or a road of energy. So it can become a bit disturbing or unsettling. And particularly if it's a big window, then that can have more of an impact. So now the coffin position that I mentioned is when you've got the bed in line with the bedroom door. And it's when the soles of the feet are pointing outward, and it pulls at you. So one way to remedy this is to put a piece of furniture in between the bed and the door. Something else that we don't recommend is plants in the bedroom. So during the daytime, plants provide us with oxygen by increasing carbon dioxide levels, but at night this is reversed. So then what happens is we need to compete for that oxygen. But also too, plants are very yang, so it'd be better to have fresh cut flowers in your bedroom than lots of plants. Bedroom doors are open onto stairwells too, or very active areas where the energy is coming in quite quickly, as they often do up stairwells, is something we try and avoid as well. And a big one in building biology, as well as feng shui, is to ensure no appliances are on the other side of your bed head and to minimise all electronics in the space. So we're looking at this from an electromagnetic field point of view, and we want to minimise these so that they're not impacting on our sleep. I've got a picture here, and we can see here the door, and this is what the door is straight across from the bed. And if we imagine there was a window on the other side, that's what I'm talking about, having the bed in line with the door and then a window, and the energy kind of rushes across that space, a bit like being in a path or on a road, that sort of thing. In this picture, you can see here that the bed is underneath a window, which is not ideal, and there's no bed head, so there's no support either. On either side of the bed, you've got two bedside tables, but they're not matching. You've also got a plant in the space, and you've got lots and lots of mirrors. So, and the colour red's been used here a lot too. So to me, when I look at this picture, it doesn't look like a very restful space. It feels very active to me, and not in the ideal arrangement. So this is just something to consider. So let's talk a little bit more about the ideal arrangement. So what we're actually looking for, where we can, is to have beds against a solid wall, because the occupant can see who's entering the bedroom. We really don't want to have mirrors where they can be seen from the bed, so we want to place them where they can't be seen from the bed wherever possible. And even in rentals, I've had glassed wardrobe doors, and I've either removed one so I could slide the other one back so it's not reflecting the bed, that sort of thing. So that I minimise the amount of mirrors in the bedroom. Matching bedside tables and arrangements are ideal wherever possible. Avoiding clutter and anything under the bed. And this is one of the reasons I chose this picture. Because it's behind a nice solid wall. You've got really minimal electronics in that space. You've got a couple of lamps. You've got a lovely window. You can see here that the bed has no clutter underneath, so you've got airflow, but you're not sleeping on top of your clutter either or anything like that. And also, to invest in a healthy bed made from natural fibres is really important. If we think about the amount of time that we spend sleeping, and we're with our face buried into our pillows, we're very close to what we're sleeping on. It's in our breathing zone. So the healthier bed made from natural fibres in your pillows, your bedding, etc., the better off you are. And always remember to create a space that represents you on a deep personal level. And I know we were talking about before what to avoid. So I just want to make one other further point on that. when we're looking at what to avoid. Obviously, if you have a bedroom and you have the only the only wall you can place the bed on is underneath a window because you have a meter box on the other wall, then that's still going to be better than sleeping by the meter box. So I just wanted to stress that at no time, no matter what we're looking at from a Feng Shui perspective, would I say to you to then put that bed against a wall with a meter box, no matter what we're dealing with. So I just wanted to mention that. Colour. So each and every colour and light has enormous effect on us physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Denise Lynn, who's done some extraordinary work in her time. And I chose this picture because when you look at it, you can see how much of a difference that colour actually makes to this space. So if you imagine that that was just a grey concrete walls on either side in a city, how much of a different feeling that walkway or that corridor there is going to have. But because there's colour there and there's plants there, there's life. So it completely changes the outlook of that space. And colour has the ability to do that. That's what makes colour so gorgeous. So in Feng Shui, we use colour to harmonise the unseen influences and to strengthen our human fortune, and we use it to sedate some more challenging influences that may be present. So as mentioned, we don't know what these unseen influences are for your individual spaces. So my advice in this instance would be to introduce colour changes slowly and do it with objects and materials that you can change as you go or before you paint a whole wall. Get a feel for the space first, remembering that colours also have to suit your individual likes and personality, as well as what the room is used for. And it's really interesting now that I have my kids in a Steiner school, I'm really starting to appreciate the effects and the benefits of colour even more. Their classrooms are really quite extraordinary and quite beautiful. The use of colour, there's just so much colour, but it's not overwhelming or overbearing. It's actually quite beautiful and it seems to harmonise the space. And they don't have any plastics either or electronics, and they use the old-fashioned wooden desks, so everything's made of natural materials, and it just gives the whole space a completely different feel to it. So in Feng Shui, we refer to lighter, brighter, more vivid tones as more yang, and duller tones more yin. And as I've mentioned, colours in Feng Shui are attributed from the 5 elements. And we look to nature to see how these colours are used. And if we look at the chart here, you see fires up the top in the direction of south. And then you have earth, metal, water, and wood with the Tai Chi in the middle. And if we look at this picture of nature here, and we think about that picture that I showed you earlier with a lot of red in the bedroom. So red is a very stimulating, very yang, very activating colour. And we use it in Feng Shui in certain scenarios. And it can be great to activate energies. It's dynamic, it's got drive, vitality, passion. But in nature, as you can see from this picture, it's used sparingly. So we're also thinking about that when we're using our remedies or looking at the 5 elements to see how we can harmonise the space. Whereas if you look outside, I'm looking outside my office window now, and there's so much green. Green is used so much in nature, but red is used sparingly. So bedroom colours. The colours we see are actually reflections of waves of energy, and they have an effect on us. We use them in language. I saw red, she's feeling blue, that sort of thing. So it's quite amazing when we start to think about colour, what an effect it has on us. Deep, intense colours have a more profound effect on our emotions rather than pastels. And it's funny, I'm a Scorpio, and we're kind of renowned for our intensity, I suppose. And I've never been able to do pastels really at any stage of my life. So it's interesting when you start to think about colours and the effect that they have on you. What do you like? What are you drawn to? Do you go through phases where you go through a blue phase or a green phase, or you might be going through something in your life and you're naturally drawn to a type of colour? So when you start paying attention to that, it's really interesting. Even when you get up in the morning and pick your clothes, ask yourself, what mood am I in today? What would help me today? And then have a look at your clothes and see which colours you're actually drawn to. As mentioned, use red sparingly, as in nature, as it's really, really strong. There's some spaces in homes where we recommend to not use the colour red at all because it really can activate areas, and sometimes we don't want to do that. We want to sedate areas more. And bedrooms, they really need softness. They need a flow, a little bit of luxury, and a bit more of a yin nurturing space. So use colours that represent this to you. Colours like green have harmony. They're about balance, healing, hope, growth. They represent the wood element, the direction of east. And as I said, green's found everywhere in nature. It represents like new life force and replenishing and freshness, that sort of thing. Yellow can be about conversation, concentration, study, joy, intellect, freedom, and it can aid in communication and wisdom. Blue is a bit more about spiritual faith, authority, composure, peace. It's used in uniforms because it gives a sense of authority. But it can be a little bit more introverted too, so it's an interesting one. It's obviously going to depend on the shade of blue as well, because some blues in Feng Shui are more to do with the wood element. So a lighter blue would be more representative of the wood element than a really deep blue. Orange is used in shock and trauma, and this can be really good in a shy child's bedroom to aid in creativity and self-motivation, optimism, that sort of thing. Protect emotional energies. As I said, red, very stimulating. Fantastic colour, but very stimulating. And I bet you notice sometimes if you're lacking in energy or you're feeling a bit not so up and ready to go, pay attention and see if you actually pick a piece of red clothing for yourself to wear, because you often might, because that will give you the energy that you need. White encompasses all colours, so it has different meanings in different cultures. In Feng Shui, the combination of black, grey and white can have a really cool, cold effect, and can be a little bit overpowering and impressive, and yet this is the colours that's often used in offices. And it can be a bit too yin. In a house, we're often looking for a bit more yang. So if we are working with a lot of white, then we really need to white and black. Then we really need to plan and balance it, because we're going to need to bring in colour in other ways to warm up that environment or to create the space. But again, our personal likes and dislikes are all different. So I encourage you to think about colour and what it invokes and the impact that it has on you and how you actually already use them in your homes and for yourself. So in summary today, as I said, our homes are a reflection of our internal state of being, and we are attracted to places that mirror the particular phase of life we're in. And then there's a reason why we chose this particular home, and sometimes some work is required. So I give you this invitation to inquire. I want you to look around your home and particularly your bedroom and think about, what does your home feel like to you? Do you like what I see? Do you like the objects that you see in your home? Or do you see things? When you open your front door, what do you see? How do you feel? Do you feel like you're coming home? Is this your space? Does it represent you? Does your bedroom represent you on a deep soul level? What colours do you like and are drawn to? Have you used them in your home? And last but not least, is your bedroom a healthy sleeping sanctuary, or could you make some simple changes? So look at your bedroom and have a look. Do you have clutter in the bedroom? Is there dust? Does it need a bit of a spring clean? Do you have a lot of electronic devices? Do you charge your mobile phone while you sleep next to your head? Do you use scented fragrances? What's your bedding like? Is it made of natural fibres? Is your mattress more than 10 years old? Then if it is, it's time for a change. that sort of thing. So I encourage you to take a look around your home and really start to inquire and figure out, is it working for you? Do you like what you see? Does it represent you on a really deep level? Do you feel like you're coming home? And I think when we start to look at our homes like this, it's amazing what we start to notice and some of the changes that we can start to make, even just moving furniture around, making some simple changes, having a go and seeing what feels better. A chest of drawers, sometimes would work better in one room than another, that sort of thing. Does it face onto the back wall of the bedroom that faces out to the backyard? Then it supports the mountain of that bedroom. So there's all sorts of things like that you can do to experiment and play with how your home feels to you. So I think we're going to leave it there today. I hope you got some information and some tips from this webinar that you can then take into your own homes. If you like, you can subscribe on my website and you'll get an ebook from me if you do that. It gives you some more building biology tips. If you have any further questions, don't hesitate to get in touch via Facebook, or my email is on the website. And otherwise, I hope you got a lot out of this today. Thanks for listening, and thank you. Bye.